ZiKZ 5368 and cabin delivery to processing workshop and helicopter pad in Zherbai Quarries. Hello there everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of SnowRunner here at Overfed Gaming. I am the Overfed. We got a call in from dispatch here just a little bit ago asking if there was anybody that was close by the airplane hangar, and it just so happens that I was sitting here waiting with the plaid and the Derry Special after we finished the previous job. Now, it seems that there is a guy that a few days ago was driving a ZiKZ 5368 and he had a cabin on the back and he drove off the road where the road was washed out in the dark. Now, they got him out, he's fine, but the truck and the cabin is still there. So anybody that was close in the area around the airplane hangar, which we just so happen to be, they asked us if we could go out and take a look and see if we can attempt a daring rescue, which is what we're going to do. Now, we could have taken the plaid 450, however, the plaid's a little bit of a bigger truck. So they did tell us there was a couple of spots where it was really narrow and small, and I might have had a little bit of trouble with the plaid, so we decided to take the Derry Special. Now, we've been using the Derry Special back in the Ontario region where we used it as a water truck, and it was an awesome truck to drive, had plenty of power, it was a very capable truck. A little bit of trouble if we get into the deep mud or if we got some really big boulders, but hopefully we won't run into anything like that on this journey. Now, as we come around this corner, you'll see a little creek there, and the ZiKZ and the cabin are up in the creek, they're up the creek without a paddle. They're up the creek a little bit, and I was thinking about maybe driving through the creek to them and then pulling them down the creek and then back up on the road. But I wasn't quite sure how deep the water is going to get or how big those boulders are up ahead there. So I decided to play it safe, and we would stay on the ground and drive around it and try and get in front of it. Now, if you follow the road straight through here, that's the way the poor unfortunate gentleman went, and he drove right off the road where it was washed out. I guess it must have been a little too dark for him. He couldn't see very well. So what we got to do is we got to climb around to the left. I started turning a little bit late here. We got to go around this little rocky outcropping, and this is where it gets a little bit on the narrow side. Now, the plaid might have been able to make it through. I'm not sure. Up here it's not too bad, but it gets a little bit dicey right over here. But it doesn't matter. We took the Derry Special and we wanted to see if he's going to cope all right and do the job for us, because we'd like to keep him in the fleet as a regular truck that we could use on different jobs, depending of course upon what kind of job it is. I'm not quite sure how well he would do in the snow. I haven't driven him in the snow, but I'm sure we're going to get a chance in the upcoming regions. I think there's a snowy region coming up in Quebec, Canada, as a matter of fact, but we won't be there for a little while. So in the meantime, we're going to test him out on a daring rescue attempt here, because this is not an easy job. As you can see, we could have maybe been in the creek. Yeah, well, it could be a hard sell. I thought we'd go over here, back it up as far as I could, and then grab the cabin, move it forward a little bit, and then hook up to the truck and try and pull them up on the road. I didn't want to put the cabin on the back of my truck and pull the truck on the road at the same time. I figured it might have been a little bit too much weight. So we're gonna activate the anchor here. Now, we always activate the anchor if the cargo that we're lifting is quite heavy and a little further away like this. I mean, if you don't have that anchor activated, it could pull your truck over. So we're just gonna try and lift it a little bit, just enough to get it up off the ground, move it forward so that when we pull that truck out of the creek, that we can still reach the cabin to put it on the back of the flat deck of the Derry Special. That's the reasoning. So now we're going to pack the crane back in, move ahead a little bit. First we want to put this. I forgot to mention that the Derry Special has an active suspension, which is really cool, and sometimes it really helps out as far as power is concerned in deep mud or over bigger rocks. So we moved it forward a little bit, and we hooked up onto the ZiKZ. And now we're just going to try and just pull it up onto the road. But we only want to pull it up far enough so that he's on the road and not going to cause us any trouble. A little bit further. Okay, now he's pretty stable there. He's not going to fall off again. And you want to remember, don't go too far because you might not be able to reach the cabin with your crane. If that's the case, then you'd have to move your truck over and get closer. But we're okay. Now, when your cargo, whatever you're lifting, is that far away and your crane is that far extended, it won't lift it up because it's just too heavy. So you got to drag it a little closer to the truck so that you can actually pick it up. Then once you got it picked up, now we're going to have to fandangle it onto the back deck. And we got to play around with it a little bit. You want to get it half decent straight on the back without hitting the other truck with it. And there again, if you're not familiar or that good with your crane, I suggest you practice a little bit, because your crane and your winch, which is basically the same thing, they're two of your best friends, you know. This crane could, if I couldn't pack the cargo onto the flat deck, this crane could hold that cabin on my flat deck the whole journey if I wanted to. However, then I wouldn't be able to tow the truck. So we're going to try and get it on here as straight as we can. Just pull it forward, drop it down, and then pack it. Just like that. Packing it is basically strapping it down. That I'm sure everybody realizes and understands that. Then we're going to take the winch out and hook it back up to the ZiKZ. Now, a little tip, a little trick is, if the vehicle you're towing is not damaged, turn on the engine on it. If you can turn on the engine on it, it'll help go across really bad landscape. It'll use its own power. You won't have to pull as hard. Now, if the truck is damaged and you got repair points, the best thing might be to repair. Yeah, we're going to put the suspension down now. We don't need it right now at this moment. If you have repair points, the best thing probably would be to repair the gas tank in the vehicle and maybe the suspension so it can roll. And if you have any points left over after that, obviously engine and gearbox. And if you can get that engine going, like I said, the whole journey will be much, much easier. So that's what I did. I turned the engine on the truck behind me. I always like to keep it winched fairly close behind me. I don't like the cable to be too long, because you're going through some tight turns here, and if the cable is long, you're going to end up dragging that vehicle over top of the rocks on the sides through the corners, and I didn't do that. That's not the way to do it. So it is a little bit of a tight spot here. There again, like I said, if we had taken the Plaid, this might have been a little tough, but I'm sure he would have done it. But I really wanted to see how good or how bad the Derry Special would perform, and then that way we can give him a rating and either keep him in the fleet for certain jobs, or we can expand his workload and try a few different jobs with him. But he seems to be going all right. He seems to be pulling pretty good. He's a little bit slower than most trucks. He doesn't have, he's not a race car, but he keeps plugging along and he doesn't stop. He's a real workhorse, which is exactly what we need. We're starting to gather quite a few very capable trucks in our fleet now, and we like to try and switch off between them so that we get to see everybody gets to see different trucks, and just to see what it's like. So as we're coming around the corner here now, I'm not quite sure about some of these back roads because I haven't done a lot of them. And whenever I'm not sure about where I'm going or where I have to turn, what I'll do is I'll take a scout and I'll set them up as a pointer at an intersection to let me know where I gotta go. Plus, it's always a good idea too, in case you need any fuel, you can always take the fuel from the scouts. Which is another really good tip. Whenever you do a job and you finish your job, don't recover your truck, just leave it where it is. Because that way it's there, number one, as a rescue vehicle if you need them, it's there for fuel supply, or it's there when a new job or task comes up. It might just be right where you left that truck, and you can start your task right then and there, which is a really good option to have. So remember that. Leave your trucks, don't recall them unless of course you have to have that one particular vehicle. Now, coming through here, you'll be able to see on the left-hand side, just as we go around this little pine here, my Ford 750 is sitting there, which tells me that I got to turn here and go up into the hills. Now it's a little bit of a tough haul, but it'll be for the better, because what it'll do is it brings us to a job that we did a little while ago called the Hard Hat area, where we brought cargo over to the northern landslide, and it cleared the rocky path so that we can get through, and once you're through there, you're back onto the main artery of the map of Zherbai Quarries. You are back on the highway, so to speak, which will make your drive a lot easier. Now, it doesn't make it without any incidents, because there is still plenty of trouble up ahead, but this part here, like this, will be left behind, and we can drive on tarmac, which is a little bit nicer. But first we got to get up there and get through all of this, and we got another little bit of a mud pit up ahead. And there again too, another good tip. If you can avoid a mud pit, do it. Don't drive through them if you don't have to, because most of the time mud pits are problems and trouble areas. Now, this one coming up here, there is no way we could have avoided it. There is no way you're going to go around it. Now you can see the mud sticking out. There's trees on either side, so if we do get stuck, we've got a place to winch onto. So I wasn't too worried about this particular mud pit, but there is one coming up that I should have paid a little bit more attention to. But sometimes we don't always pay attention, as you know. I get too carried away with the game itself, and I just love playing this game. It's an absolutely gorgeous game to play. And the trucks that you use, like this here beast, is just fantastic to drive. If you get a chance to drive the Derry Special in SnowRunner, you got to give it a shot. It's a lot of fun. Now, as we're coming up over the top, you can see that the Fem 37-AT is still sitting there. He was the one that delivered the cargo up here to the northern landslide, which was just up ahead here. They were supposed to clear all the rocks. They got most of them. They left a few for us to negotiate, and that's okay. And as we're coming now around here, now if I was low on fuel, I could fuel up from him, because I'm sure he's got fuel left in his tank, and he's got reserves on top. But we know that just up the road is a gas station, and we still got 230 liters, and we got reserves on top. So we're not going to take the fuel from the Fem. We're going to let him keep it, and then that way, if we could use that fuel in an upcoming task or job, whatever, then it's there for us. In the meantime, we don't need it at this point. Now, when we're coming along here, when you have little mud pits like this, there's no point in trying to go as fast as you can to go through it quicker, because it doesn't work. Because as soon as you hit it, you're stopped dead in your tracks. Whether you go fast or slow, really makes no difference. So you're better off just to negotiate it at a little bit of a slower pace, and so you can see exactly what's happening. And for any of you that have been watching my videos, you know that I like to drive a little bit slower, because in that situation, see here again too, I thought I was supposed to go through the water here, but I didn't have to until up ahead. But if you wait until later to figure that out, you might make the wrong decision. And if you would have stopped for a second, you would have been okay. But we didn't do that. We didn't have no problems. We got to try and get through here. Now this here is another little bit of a problem area. And with problem areas, every once in a while, you might have to let go of the truck behind you, which is another reason why I like to have them close by, so that if you get stuck like we are right here. Now, there is no way that he's gonna, I can't go backwards, and he won't go forwards. So you got to think a little bit outside the box, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to let go of the truck behind me and change my suspension back up to a little bit higher. That would probably help, but I got too much weight on top and too much weight that I'm trying to pull. So I got to let go of the truck behind me, and I got to see if there's a log laying in the water somewhere that I can winch onto and just kind of break the truck free. Which a lot of times, if you could just move it a little bit, well, it looks like there's a couple of logs there. So if I can break it free, just move it a little bit, I might be able to drive it up that little angled portion. I should have probably attached the winch to a little bit further back on my truck, but I didn't do that. So I just thought I'd get the front wheels out, and then before you get too far away from that truck, hook back onto him again and move him up with you. And it looks like he's going to pull him right out of there. Not as easy as maybe the pad would have done it, but that's not the point. The point is that we're going to get him out of there, and as we keep driving, ooh, that pulley is very heavy. We cinch the winch in back right up behind us and get them nice and close behind so that we can have as short of a caravan here as possible, just for turning corners. And that was a little bit of a trouble spot, but not too badly. We managed to get through that all right. Now as we're coming down here, we're going to be coming up to that deserted little ghost town pretty quickly here, and on the other side is where the gas station is, where we can fuel up. Absolutely awesome. As long as we're driving on tarmac like this, on paved road, no, there's no trouble. You just got to make sure about with your off track that you take the corners a little bit wider, because you're pulling something. That's all you got to remember. This here any of these little water holes they look great. They're not much of a problem. So we're just going to go right on through them until we get to the T intersection here and hang a left towards that old deserted ghost town, I guess. It must be a ghost town, because I tell you, I don't know if the people would put up with it for very long. Having you drive through with big semi-trucks and creating a hassle there with the noise and the pollution for them. So I'm believing it's a deserted ghost town. And another reason why these holes in the road don't get fixed, and we got to continue to go around, but that's okay. And sometimes when I take these turns, I take them a little bit too tight, and you cut them too tight, and then your off track could hit the tree or what have you. So just keep that in mind. Now we just got to go up one block, and then we got to turn left and back around. And this truck is just absolutely fantastic. I really like this one. I'm glad that I decided to use him and try him out again, because he's been in the cobwebs for a little while. And it's always nice to have options as far as the different trucks we are concerned. Now I know there are some regions coming up where the bigger trucks, you cannot use them at all, because the areas where you got to go is just too narrow and small, so you're going to have to use smaller trucks that can be at your disposal, and we're trying a few of them out now. So as we're coming around the corner here, you'll see the gas station on your right hand side, and once you've driven the roads here a few times, you don't need to lay down trackers anymore because you remember pretty quickly where you are and where you got to go. So it's not much of a problem. Now we're down to 173 liters, so we've used up quite a bit of fuel, and we still got a decent distance to go. It's when you get stuck in the mud and you can't get through an area, when it's a problem area, that's where you use a lot of extra fuel. So we're just going to fuel it up here. There we go. And then change the time to daytime so we can see how beautiful this game is. And then we can head her out again. Let's go, boys. We've got a cabin and a truck to deliver. Now they got to go to two separate places. The task that we're in is called a residential issue, and the cabin's got to go up to the helicopter pad, and the truck is got to go to the processing workshop. So it doesn't matter which one you deliver first. The task isn't completed until both have been delivered. So now we got another little detour right here by the warehouse. Not much of a problem. It's just that these are just standard little detours. It's just, you know, they look great and they make you go off-road a little bit, but they're not really a problem, trouble area. Except for just up ahead a little ways. There is one coming up that you should stick around and see, because if you are not sure what to do, maybe this video will help you out. Coming up here, we're going to be passing the garage on the right-hand side, and then we'll be coming up to that pipe that we repaired that goes over top of the road. But just before we get to that pipe, there is another washout on the road that we've got to detour around. So, now he's got decent speed when he's driving on the highway, as you can tell. He handles quite well. He sits really solid on the road, and for the most part, unless of course you get into deep mud, but a lot of trouble, a lot of trucks will have trouble in deep mud, so that's okay. That's all part of the game. Now the cabin on the top of the flat deck does make the truck sway back and forth a little bit, so it makes it I don't know, it just feels a little strange when you're swaying from left to right with something that's a little top heavy, you know. But other than that, pretty easy drive. When you have the engine on the vehicle that you're towing, not only does it get easier to pull him, but if you ever get stuck in something and he's right behind you, sometimes he'll help push you through, because you'll end up having the engine in the Derry Special and the engine in the ZiKZ pushing to try and move the whole caravan through. Not always, but sometimes. Now up ahead here, I believe up ahead here is where we get the other little detour that is out. Yeah, we're going to be coming down the hill here. That's where the pipe goes over top of the road. And that's one of the first things you got to fix, because you got to go from one side of the map to the other side of the map, back and forth quite a few times, and if you have to pull a detour around that pipe, it's almost impossible. There's a few places where you can go, but they get very tough, especially if you had to pull a truck and bring a cabin. They might be pretty tough to go the other way. So fix that first. This is the Zherbai Quarries in the Almaty Region. It's the only map that's available, and there's no snow, but quite a bit of mud and some boulders, and two very large and one medium-sized quarry that I'm sure we're going to be going to the bottom and in and out of those quarries quite a few times before this region is done. So as we're coming around here, just past this pipe, if you go around the corner, we'll just hang on here a second, I'll let you know. We're getting close to the processing workshop, which is where we're going to go first. Now, if I wanted to go to the helicopter pad, there's two ways to get there. You can either go left here, but I didn't want to do that because I don't want to have to tow that truck all the way up there. But you can go left here, or you can go left up top. It's just kind of a U-shaped design on the side of the highway. Now over here, there's a little road to the left, and the Opafed should have paid attention and taken that road or checked it out before going in here. I didn't think that this mud hole was going to be much of a problem for the Derry Special. Boy, how wrong I was. How wrong I was. I didn't cut the video at all. I wanted you to see what happens and what I did to get out of it. And maybe you will be a little smarter than I was and take that bypass. Trust me, let me tell you, this is the last time I went through here. I've gone through here with the Kenworth, and I had trouble with the Kenworth, but he did okay. I went through here with the Plaid, and he had the Plaid had trouble, but he still got through. But this, he's not going nowhere. So what to do? Now you've only got the winch, and you can winch yourself forward, as long as you don't go too far, of course, because you want to make sure that that truck stays behind you. I tried to stay as close to the right-hand side as possible, but that didn't seem to make much difference. Now, he's going really, really slowly. He is moving, but really slowly. Now, that's just not acceptable. So we're going to try and winch him forward again. First we try to put the winch on the truck, and as you can see, the truck is pushing the Derry Special, but so slow that it would take forever to do this, and this video would end up being 3 hours long. So we can't afford to do that. We got to find a better way to get through here. And she's still moving. I was hoping that it would speed up and go a little bit quicker, but it doesn't seem to work. So we're going to have to get the Derry Special a little bit further forward. Now we grab them by the side of the truck and pull them over to the tree a little bit, and that did break him loose. But now he's moving a little bit better, as you can see. But now you got to remember, you can't go too far ahead, because then you won't be able to grab the truck with your winch. So if that's the case, you might have to go pull yourself forward and then pull the other truck forward, and then go forward a little bit and then pull the other truck forward again. That's one way of doing it. Now, as luck would have it, she's starting to move here, and right now at the moment, I'm not pulling on the winch at all, just on the motor itself, motor of the Derry Special, because if you're pulling on the winch, it'll take power away from the motor. So we're going to try and get the front wheels up on the paved section of the road up ahead there. Well, she's a slow go. I tell you, never do that again. Take that little bypass of the bypass. Now we're pulling the truck a little bit closer, because if we do have to let go of it, we want it as far forward as possible. The minute I stop pulling with the winch, I see that the Derry Special starting to move. Boy, that took a little bit. I was sweating because I didn't know if I was going to be able to make it out of there, but we finally got through it. Oh boy, well, finally got through. Not yet, we're almost there. But once the front tires are up on the paved section, you know you're going to be able to pull it. And we're just going to follow the road out. As you can see, the little black arrow in the yellow diamond is up on the right-hand side, showing us where the processing workshop is, because we know that the helicopter pad is on the left of this highway. So we're going to drive it up here, and up ahead we've got a new Scout in our fleet. It's an AAC-58DW. We haven't really done much with him yet, just drove him around a little bit to see what he was like, and he's pointing where we got to turn when we come back to deliver the cabin. Now, the processing workshop is just up ahead on the right hand side. But she's starting to get a little dark. And we're going to have to turn that daytime cycle ahead here pretty quick. Another little mud pit to go through. It'll be nice to get this truck delivered because that'll definitely cut our grief in half. You know, getting rid of one part of our delivery. And as we're coming up the hill here, and just have a quick stop and turn the time ahead so we can see where we're going. Now we can see where we're going, but I'd like it to just to be a little bit brighter, just like that. It looks a little bit better, and that way we can keep it light all the way to the helicopter pad. You don't have to do it again. Now over here, you just turn it right, and you run right into the processing plant, or processing workshop. I guess they're going to fix this truck. Yeah, a little bit of body work, she should be okay. Now, when you're delivering a vehicle like this, you can't back it up really, so it's really tough. They put these receiving docks in the corner, and you got to get that truck in there. So you got to drive right in, and then when you drive right in, if you can't go in far enough, they won't accept it. You got to have that truck that you're bringing in with the front end of it, just like that. But now you're kind of stuck in front of him, so we're just going to push him back and push him out of the way. Now, had we delivered the cabin first, as soon as we would have done that, they would have accepted the truck and he would have disappeared, and the task would have been over. But we didn't do that. We took him up here first, and now we're going to go deliver that cabin. Yeah, it's a short little jaunt back down. And there again, though, not a lot of problems in this last little leg, but you do have to make sure that you keep your truck on the road, because if you go off to one side or the other a little bit once you go off-road here, the tracks are good, but off-tracks are not. And I'll explain when we get there, because some of the sides of the road, the tracks that we're driving on, is quite steep, and you don't want to drive off those. Just follow the tracks, and it'll lead you right to the helicopter pad. And first get through this whole mud pit again. Now, I think that's there's one more little mud pit right by the entrance of the helicopter pad, but not really anything to worry about. So you see, as soon as you go off-road here, now we're okay along here, and it's fairly easy driving, so not really anything to worry about. But, like I said, stay on the track. The tracks that are there in front of you, because if you don't, you could get yourself into trouble. And some of the turns here might be a little bit tight, but there again, the Derry Special is not a big truck, and he's going to be okay to take all the corners. And another little mud pit. And as you can see, anywhere along here, if you go a little bit too far to one side, you could end up flipping your truck and losing the cabin, and then you got to get somebody to come out and help you. We just want to be able to drive up to the helicopter pad in one shot and deliver it and have the task completed. Over here, we gotta go a little bit to the right, and then we're gonna finally see here too. You go off a little bit too far on the right-hand side, you'll fall off that embankment, and you don't want to do that. Which is why I said, stay on the track and you'll be fine. You'll be okay. Because this part of the road is not really that difficult, other than it will slow you down a little bit with mud, and just the turns, the corners and stuff, that will slow you down a little bit. But here again, like I said, you have to take those corners. have to, because if you don't, then you're going to tip your truck a little bit too far from one side to the other. And we don't want to do that. But we're almost there. Boy, I tell you, this was one daring rescue attempt. I didn't know if the Derry Special was going to do it. We had a few tough spots, a few hard areas, but we managed to pull through. And I do gotta say, this was a lot of fun doing this. One's a little bit longer video than normal, but I think it was well worth it. And it was just a lot of fun to do. Very enjoyable. We're going to be using the Derry Special some more in upcoming jobs. Here's another one of those areas where you want to make sure you stay in the middle. Go slow. If you go too fast, you could bounce off of one of the rocks and roll down the left or the right hand side. But that didn't happen as we coming around the corner here, and we're almost there. Boy, I tell you, this is an awesome job. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope you got some tips and some tricks out of it. And if you just came to watch just for the fun of it, that's great too. Anybody who wants to watch these are welcome to watch it, and share them with your friends, because we enjoy doing them. We're going to bring us some more. Anyhow, hope to see you back at Open Fed Demon again real soon for the next job. In the meantime, you've been delivering a cabin and a ZiKZ with a Derry Special and me, the Open Fed.